Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. And I'm your host, Fahima Mohammad, your relationship coach as well. I want to welcome you all today watching from all over the world and through different platforms. We are here obviously on British Muslim TV, on Sky, on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in today. As you know, I am the relationship expert for SingleMuslim.com, and we are raising issues that are around the challenges that are faced within our community today. And because I deal with clients privately, alhamdulillah, I've been blessed to have this platform to raise these kinds of topics, to create more awareness and hopefully give some practical tips. We are here obviously live on British Muslim TV after the watershed, and regarding a topic today, which is the importance of intimacy. I want to warn the viewers that it is an adult content and theme, and there will be explicit language used only for the purpose of the actual topic. We are going to remain respectful, and obviously we will welcome any live calls today. It's at your national standard rate from your mobile or your landline. It is really important that we understand that we're raising these issues because of the challenges that we are facing today. And unfortunately, we are talking about the breakdown of the household, and with that, as we know as Muslims, it is really important to maintain that unit. And obviously there are various reasons why this is happening. There are inside the household reasons as well as external reasons. But as a relationship coach myself, I like to bring this topic only because we want to raise awareness for people who are even potentially looking for marriage. So don't think this is just about people that are already in relationships. These are topics that's going to help you in your future. This is really important for you to take heed as to what's being said so that you can be well prepared. Unfortunately, also, we find that there is a real taboo and there is also a stigma for talking and bringing up these kinds of topics, but it's really relevant because it's important for us to understand the way in which we are naturally connected to ourselves and each other. As we know, there is a natural biology where we are obviously prone to want that attention, that connection, and we want to reproduce. We want to meet and mate. So I just want to say that if you have any questions, please do call in live into the studio, which I will obviously, hear your calls, hear your questions and your comments, and we'll hopefully be answering them, on the show today. And the number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 01924 231083. I'll say that again, 01924 231083. So the importance of intimacy. A lot of us think that firstly, it is just something that we talk about when it comes to the physical aspect, but actually it is so much more deeper. When you understand your mind and your natural need to even be physically involved with your partner, it is so much more than just the physical act. So we need to understand that intimacy is just an umbrella for many, many other things around it. And the main thing actually about, being intimate with your partner is actually feeling safe, feeling free, feeling connected, feeling comfortable, especially if you're going to be talking to each other about sensitive issues, regardless of what that issue is. And when you are speaking to one another, you are open and you feel safe and secure, that there's no judgment, and you can actually have a real deep conversation and feel that connection and feel that sense of, that not just connection, but the actual intimacy, that real deep sort of sense of one another. So I have with me today a guest. She's from the States. So We are not ready for her yet because we're trying to get the connection, obviously. But the thing is, I really want to hear what are your thoughts. It is not something that we need to be shying away from. This is also part of our deen when we are entering into relationships, to understand that there is a need for us to know ourselves well as the other person. We know that in our families today that we are culturally sort of like, based, where we are just, thinking about marriage as in finding that person who is attractive, who maybe shares some values similar to us. And also we might have, the boxes ticked with regards to what we, prefer. And that is all for well, but our parents and our teachers are not actually preparing us well enough. And when I see issues that are coming up in relationships, not just because, they're newly married, but also after years of marriage, there are two factors we need to consider. When you are newly married and you've never been in a relationship, you still can have knowledge, the right knowledge, not just seeking knowledge openly on the internet and widely, where you're just going to get all types of information aside from our Islamic sort of boundaries as well. We need to get the right information so that we can actually be around ourselves and our partner in the correct form. So being intimate is something that we do need to consider, and we do need to teach ourselves, and it is a skill. And in that skill is knowing how intimacy works, understanding what it means, and to each one it will mean something different, but we're going to explore that a lot deeper. And I would appreciate if you do call in, and you can direct the conversation, and you can actually ask your questions. If you want to remain anonymous, you're more than welcome to do so as well, and you can even ask on behalf of a friend or a family member. It's all possible here on the show today. I'm actually joined by an amazing guest, but, very shortly, both of us will be here to actually answer your questions. But in the meantime, think about intimacy and what does that mean for you? And a lot of us, understand that it's really advised in Islam to actually marry early so that we can actually fulfill our desires. But is that the main reason for you to actually want marriage? Now, I understand that we have a lot of fulfillment that we want to have as our outcomes, and that is one of it. But it shouldn't be the only thing that's driving us towards entering into a marriage. We need to understand that is only part of it. And even if it is only part of it, we need to understand it very well. I'm not trying to say that men and women are exclusive in a way that our brains are slightly different biologically, and our mindsets are very similar in a sense that, we can think in the same way, but our experiences and social and cultural norms does, play part as to how men and women behave and think. But we are all very capable of understanding each other's needs, and there is a difference slightly. I'm just generalizing here, and it doesn't apply to everyone, but it is known that men are very goal driven. So when they are goal driven, they really go into it wanting, the intimacy and not actually thinking about the experience. Whereas women, they actually want an experience. And that's just a start as to how you've got to look at intimacy. But I really want to talk a lot more. However, I think you'll be interested to know that we have an amazing guest with us today who actually specializes in this particular topic. And I would love to introduce to you today, we have Estela Rodriguez Jebril. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hello. I'm doing fabulous, and I'm so honored to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It is my pleasure. Honestly, I am so happy. And you are joining us from across the world. Where are you today?
Today, I'm in Massachusetts in the United States. It's 4:30 or so, in the day. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm just So excited, subhanallah, isn't this just such an amazing time to be in, that we can be in such extreme parts of the world and connect for, to empower and to inspire, inshallah.
Well, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts. I've given it a brief introduction, but I think that, having your input is so vital. So let's go straight into it. When we talk about intimacy, there is obviously an understanding and understanding the meaning of it, and also knowing it, its importance. How would you describe the understanding of intimacy?
Well, I would say it's vital. It's vital at different levels. As human beings, we are just energetic beings that need to really thrive off of each other. There are different levels of intimacy. Of course, the most common one that we think about is husband and wife, man and woman, right?
Yes.
But there are actually different levels of intimacy that, we have to learn to cultivate within us so that we can get to that, level in our lives where we're ready to embrace that covenant, that commitment that we as Muslims know is half of our religion, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great introduction. I guess we have a whole array of viewers out there today who are either single, looking for, entering into a marriage relationship, and also there are probably others that are already in relationships, and also others that have probably had relationships that hasn't worked out and they're entering into new relationships. So obviously, like when you mentioned the different stages, a lot of us think that, we may have to have experience when it comes to intimacy, but what are your thoughts on that? Because I feel that, like you mentioned, intimacy is described in many ways. Again, it's also having, that emotional intelligence as well as a person. So what are the different types of intimacy that one needs to be aware of?
We really have to recognize that intimacy starts as soon as we come into this world. We come into this world, and the first connection we have, whether you're a male or whether you're a female, is with your mother. And if you're a woman that has given birth and you're a woman that has nursed your baby, you know very well that level of intimacy that is so deep. And that is the first step, the first introduction, the first connection to that intimacy, suckling on a mother's breasts to nurture this infant that's come into this world by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it just progressively grows from there as we grow in our lives, right? As we connect with our parents, as maybe we connect with our siblings. And then through the different stages that we go through, we know that we go through these hormonal stages in our life that we're going to leave our childhood and enter, adolescence that is going to take us into adulthood. So intimacy is something that is very much a part of our existence from the moment that we enter this world. But we're so shy about talking about it. We think that there's this shame about talking about it. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, to be these intimate servants that connect, with each other, to know each other, to, be companions of each other, to be, most important of all, loving and compassionate to each other, right? So that we can serve Allah, so we can worship Him fully as He created us.
It's really important. What my takeaway from what you've just said is about the connections and the relationships we have with our parents, because I feel in some communities there is a lacking. I mean, when they're babies and when they're toddlers and little kids, they might show that affection, but as they get older, sometimes it is lacking. I even have some clients come to me, some women. I remember having a talk once, and she was like, I don't remember the last time even my husband actually, looked at me and complimented me. So that level of intimacy sometimes maybe at the beginning, or when they're a child, and if they don't have that when they're growing up, then they don't know how to transfer that, especially to their potential spouses. And for them, whether it's male or female, it's only considered as some sort of like physical, sexual sort of like, encounter, when it's so much more, because intimacy is about even the courting process, where you will hold hands, where you will cuddle, where you would do so many other things around that. And especially as women, this is what we require more, and men need to understand and learn that we also have these needs and these desires. So what are your thoughts about how parents are even prepared or skilled enough to even talk to their children before marriage and prepare them, as a woman and as a man, to enter into relationships and be intimate in a healthy way?
That's such a great question to really address, because I honestly believe that, 98, if not 99% of the Muslim population, and we're just talking about the Muslim population right now, right? Because it's really prevalent in all populations, it's that, nobody's given a guidebook. Nobody's given a template to follow. Mm-hmm. And constantly, generation after generation, just, really connecting within our families, with our children, in our marriages, off the cuff, it's so important to recognize that generational component, because that's what we learn in that system of the family. We learn in that system. As children, we observe our parents, how they're interacting with each other. It's so vital to really go back to the root, to really go back to the core, and it's rooted, in that system, the family system. We want to go out and replicate our own families and replicate, our own relationships. And we have to remember that the only guides that we do have is what we've been exposed to, So we have to, I think one thing that is so important is to really recognize that it doesn't really even matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many courses you've taken. It doesn't matter how much education you take, because I'll tell you, as a licensed clinical therapist, I was really good at helping other people at the beginning stages of my work, of my career. I was really good at helping other people, but I was really bad at helping myself, and I was really bad at asking. So we have to be brave enough and courageous enough and transparent. How to have that transparency where we can just, be honest and bring things to the table and look in the mirror that I don't have the tools. My parents didn't have the tools. They did the best that they could, but, we have to be willing to just speak about this openly and honestly, so we can get to the core.
Yeah, no, of course. And I do want to remind the viewers, this is a live call-in show. And if you want to call in with any questions or queries, we have lots of people watching on Facebook and around the world, and from, all over. Lots of comments, actually. We have Sister Omera saying that this is a fantastic topic and it's not talked about in our society. So obviously we have lots of people, interested in this idea of what we're speaking about today. And obviously there are issues. So we have also Brother Abdul, and brothers and sisters from Pakistan and Bangladesh. Thank you so much for all of you. And we have loads of people also watching from the Middle East. Welcome. And if you do have any questions, you are able to call in on 01924231083, where we have the amazing Estela here with me to answer any of your questions. You do even have a program, which we will get into after the break, regarding this particular sort of issue. But before that, quickly before the break, I just want to also understand, what are the things do you think, because I don't ever think that it's too late. We still have parents out there, even if whatever generation there is, and studying a bit of neuroscience, understanding that we are able and capable of change at whatever age, even if it's difficult with our habits. What are the things that, a parent should be modeling to their children with regards to them having, seeing sort of intimacy in a respectful but yet healthy way, which their children will also use in their own relationships in the future?
One thing that is so important for parents to be able to do is to show affection to each other, appropriate affection, of course. We know that, it's so unfortunate that there are so many couples that are out there that have children that feel it's shameful to hold hands in front of their children, to kiss in front of their children, to lay on the couch and, cuddle with each other in front of the children. And if we're not modeling this to our children, guess who is? Guess who is modeling to them? All of the movies out there, everything on social media is modeling to them what sensuality looks like. So we have to be really cognizant of that. And I think this day and age, our young people are truly struggling and have a huge challenge more than any other generation because of social media, because of, the innocence being gone, like by fifth grade. By fifth grade, kids know about sex. Kids know about, how it's done. Kids are talking about it. Kids are exploring. Kids are curious. So if there's no safe place to, express that and to ask questions. So if two parents are too shy to kiss each other in front of their kids, they're most certainly, their kids are going to know that they can't come to them and talk to them about, you know what, Mom? So-and-so at school today was talking about that they were making out in the bathroom with someone, or that they went behind the school and had sex. Like, this is really going on.
It does.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. You've highlighted so much, and I want to go, much deeper into it, especially after the break, which is approaching soon. But I do have some questions on social media, which I quickly want to, sort of say. We have an India, watching people from India, Indonesia. It's amazing, asking questions. We're going to answer your questions after the short break. Please do stay tuned. Don't be shy to pick up the phone and ask us directly. It is really important that we do hear your voices, and we are here respectfully, understanding. And we are also just trying to sort of say, as much as we're trying to respect you, please be respectful back to, especially us females here who are trying really hard to present to you something. So hopefully we'll see you after the break, inshallah. Take care and stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Single Muslim Live on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. I'm your host, Fahima Mohammad, and I'm here today with the wonderful Estela Rodriguez Jebril, and we are talking about the importance and understanding intimacy. I just want to remind the viewers this is a live show, obviously after the watershed, and we are trying to be respectful, but there is going to be explicit content and language regarding this topic, which is going to be for everyone to understand a much deeper meaning of the actual issue at hand. But at the same time, please do call on the actual show, which is 01924231083. I also want to say that it's also important that on Facebook we have sisters commenting. Please be respectful of their comments. And I'm going to take one of their comments now. We talked earlier about public signs of affection, and publicly and inappropriately that, it may be expressed. But Omara from the UK has mentioned that it's definitely seen as shameful, and she's had, some sort of experience where she's been given looks when she was married and just holding hands with her husband and walking. So people need to stop being so judgmental, and basically, if it was, respectfully done in public with someone who is she, obviously halal, in a connection and married to, then it should be okay. So Estela, what's your, thoughts on this? Because it's not just in the home. We have people outside in our communities, especially if you're seen as a Muslim woman wearing hijab, for example. It's pretty obvious that you're Muslim. And yes, we need to have haya and we need to have respect for ourselves. But at the same time, we're walking, if we are with our partner, permanent married, couples together, if they were actually holding hands and showing a bit of affection towards each other, what are your thoughts on, what should be the responses and how should that be received?
There's 2 points that should really be looked at. The point of, the individual or the couple that's in that marriage and they're walking down the beach, holding hands, maybe giving each other a peck on the cheek. What's really important to look at is the couple's own confidence level and the couple's own intention. And the other component that is so important to look at is, yes, there are going to be people that are judgmental. There are always going to be people that are critical. Just like we all have noses, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. But just like we know that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has instructed us to really, step into any of our actions with a true intention to please Allah. Now, you don't have to be a scholar to really understand the basics of our faith. Our Islam is so simple. Wallahi, Islam is so simple. And when a married couple is wanting to have a healthy relationship and they're walking down holding hands, this is the most beautiful exhibition of our faith. We know what society says about Muslims. We know, the narrative, that's out there. And it's really in our behavior, how we show up in the world. It's going to change that paradigm. It's going to change that conversation. And what I encourage all of you listeners that are out there, there are going to be those that are going to be judgmental and critical. And the thing that I want you to really understand is whether you're Muslim or you're whatever faith you are, when you're being judgmental and you're being critical of somebody else, what that really is a mirror up to yourself. You're looking in the mirror. There's this immense judgment and criticism about the self that is going on. And what's important is to really understand that, because once you get that clarity in your mind about that and you know what your intention is, then you'll feel confident that your are appropriate. Yeah. And we're just talking about holding hands. Of course, we're not going to be, hugging and kissing like you see in the movies or you see non-Muslim couples. We have that level of modesty that we've been raised with. Yes. And it's not to say that they're not imperfect Muslims, because there are imperfect Muslims that may be, showing up that way in the world. And what we do in those circumstances is that we just pray for them. We make the for them. They're, I'm not a perfect human being, and I'm a revert, and I know that my whole life before I became Muslim was completely different. And whether you're Muslim or not, because actually when I first became Muslim, I thought all Muslims were perfect, because I read the Quran and it was like, for me, it was like a light bulb going off in my brain. And but no, come to find out, Muslims are just as imperfect as anyone else, right? You're a human being.
Of course.
That your intention. your intention.
No, beautiful. No, that is a very beautiful response to it. And I hope that, inshallah, that answers the sister's question, that we need to obviously have that intention and that, confidence. We do have another question that I'd like to address as well. We have Praj Walika, from Indonesia. She said she had a bad experience in her past marriage. She was pregnant. She had hormonal changes, and it was a problem as intimacy became a problem, between her and her partner. So yes, we have to obviously also make aware that there are changes between men and women for different stages, especially for women, and there's different stages. I'm not sure if it is true about not having or not able to have intercourse during pregnancy. There might be for certain complications, but generally that's not the case. And if there is the case, then obviously there has to be an understanding there. But what are your thoughts on how men should also have this knowledge, awareness, and information about a woman? Not just for their needs, but also when they go through different phases and stages in life where they may not actually be there to fulfill those desires that is required. What are your thoughts on that, Estela?
Yes, it's definitely very important to be able to understand the different stages that women go through. We know how special we are, right? I will be transparent and vulnerable and let everybody know that, I'm 2 years into menopause. And these are topics that we just are so scared to talk about. And, menstruation is one of those special, parts of us as being women that, yes, we go through these different hormonal stages in our life. And it just depends on, the individual. It depends on the individual woman. And what's important is, this is why just being open and being able to talk about these topics, and then it doesn't become the elephant in the room, and we understand each other. When a woman gets pregnant, for each woman, it's absolutely different. Some women can have intercourse throughout their pregnancy until delivery, and some women, aren't able to do that. And there are different things to look at. Some of them can be physical, some of them can be emotional. And the thing about pregnancy is because it's a huge, milestone in life, becoming pregnant, becoming a mother. For a woman, there are a lot of things that might come up emotionally because of memories of the past experiences of the past that might be connected to maybe something traumatic or connected to some type of abuse. So when you go into a marriage, it's just so important to be able to be transparent, to be vulnerable, so you can really get to know each other at that core level, and therefore really be able to hold space of.
Oh, we do have a caller, a brother from London. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for calling. You're live on British Muslim TV. What would you like to say? Assalamu alaikum. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm looking for some woman. I'm single. I'm looking for some Muslim woman. I'm making marriage.
Okay, this is definitely the platform you need to be at, is SingleMuslim.com. It's an amazing platform for you to find somebody. We hear this time and time again, though, that we have callers, and this is the need. So what is your advice for this caller who, generally we have lots of people either just saying, we need somebody. So tell me, have you been married before? Is this your first time? Do you have any issues you want to discuss, or is it just the question that you just put forward?
No, I'm single. I'm no marriage, nothing. Just I'm single.
Okay. Okay. All right. And do you have any challenges finding somebody, or what specifically else?
No, you find for me someone.
Oh, you want me to find you somebody? Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to make it very clear that we're here to help you overcome your challenges and your issues. We're not matchmakers, unfortunately. I wish I could deliver that. And me and Estela are here. We are here as a professional coaches to give advice and guidance and support to individuals looking for that partner. And we are raising topics and issues so that you can actually put yourself forward, because we do feel that you have the potential to do this on your own. So hopefully, inshallah, by using this amazing platform, SingleMuslim.com, and if you were to actually organize your profile in a particular way, you will hopefully find that amazing partner. I wish you good luck. Thank you so much. I just want to come back on some of the Facebook comments. We have, Abdul Rahman in Rome, Italy. This is a really important subject, he says. And it also shows that he actually raises the point that is actually also with regards to the role of men with regards to intimacy. And this was actually rolling on to my next question, because it's not about women that find it difficult to be expressive or to show their intimate side or whatever their needs are, and thinking that it's just one-sided. Women also have their requirements. They also sometimes have a very high drive. They also have, sort of needs and requirements that may not be understood by men. And men need to not just also thinking that they're the ones that only provide and they're the only givers. We also have that role to play as women. What is your thoughts and your experience with regards to women and intimacy, and how can a man assist in understanding a woman's need for intimacy?
That's a whole nother series on its own. But just the short version of it is, men are nurtured in a certain way. Men are nurtured from a very young age to suppress their emotions, And unfortunately, what that does is that, prepares a man and cultivates a man to be able to express his feelings in one way, in the most common way that most men can express themselves, openly, and not have it affect their manhood, is with anger and showing toughness, right? But unfortunately, men from a very young age, and a lot of that falls on the mother, don't cry, be a man, don't, do you want to grow up and be weak, And the interesting thing, yes, as women, it's so natural for us to be empathetic, to be loving, to be compassionate. But what's interesting is that because society now, it's really reached this level of competitiveness, right? That, women are not just stay-at-home moms anymore. Women, will become educated, have a career, and then there's this competitive edge that gets added to the relationship. And when women are successful, unfortunately, we can be a bit intimidating. We can be and it's not I don't believe it's intentional, even though maybe, in some circumstances it can be. Simply because of the fact that, there's that competitive edge that we're working towards. And sometimes we think as women that we have to really step into being more masculine in order to be seen, in order to really be heard, in order to really be taken seriously. And that affects our marriages. That impacts our marriages. And this is actually why I did put together my Love, Sex, and Marriage program, because in this program, I speak to that. The drive of men and the language of men that as women, we're not taught. And unfortunately, because of that, we tend to clash a lot. And this is one of the reasons we clash, because if our emotional needs aren't being met because a man doesn't know how to meet that need, then we look at it as through the lens of, why doesn't he love me anymore? Why doesn't he care for me anymore? When it most likely is just because he doesn't know how to express it. And maybe he doesn't feel safe. The thing is that for us, sometimes we step into that place of also being critical and being judgmental.
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to. Why aren't you? Why can't you? And that is actually very harmful for a man, because what it does is it makes him really suppress his feelings even more, because he feels like he can't show that part of himself because maybe his wife is going to lose respect. So it's really just so important to be able to have this conversation at a deeper level. Really, what is, the nature of men, and what is the nature of the woman, and how can they really learn to honor each other for who they are without that judgment that comes up, unfortunately.
Thank you so much for that. I think we do have another call out. Oh no, we have another comment on Facebook. Najib Jan says marriage can help protect couples and keep intimacy halal. But Salahuddin Khan has said he's asking now specifically what kind of intimacy is allowed in Islam and what's not. Well, we are not scholars, and unfortunately there are going to be difference of opinions regarding as to who you follow, and there are specifics on that. So I would advise you to seek some sort of advice from Ask the Alim. There's other shows on here that you can actually get that specific information. On the other hand, what you were saying, Estela, before with regards to men and women, naturally, I think that power struggle has changed, and women have definitely stepped up, and sometimes to their detriment as well, because we do have, quite really so much to talk about. But you know what, the show has gone so quickly and we've only got like 5 minutes left, so I just want to quickly ask you, what are the steps that individuals should take mainly with regards to them gearing themselves up to be able to understand and read intimacy for themselves and their partner?
Ask for help when you need it. I think the most important thing is to be able to recognize when you don't have the answer, right? You have to reach out to an expert. It's important to reach out to a professional. And, of course you want to be safe about it. You don't just want to, there's right now with the way the internet is that we can, so many people can, claim to be an expert, but they're not. And I think this kind of platform really gives that ability to showcase, those that can really provide support in marriages when they're needed. The most important thing is I think when we first get married, and I know this happened to me, the first 2 to 3 years, we call it the honeymoon stage. We call it, that place, because whether your marriage has been arranged or not, whether you fell in love on your own and got married, those first 2 years are always magical, and the other side of it could be maybe from the beginning there was dysfunction, but we're not talking about that, right? We're not talking about that. One thing that's really important to know is that those first 2 to 3 years are just like your training wheels. And the first 2 to 3 years are really about infatuation and obsession. You now have this halal space to love each other, hug each other, play with each other. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, told us that we should be playful in our marriages, right? So in the first 2 to 3 years, it's magical. But what happens is, just like anything else, that spark is going to go out. And then the real work is going to start. Then all of a sudden, the stinky socks are going to, the predominant thing, the towels that were left on the floor in the shower, the toilet that forgot to be flushed, right? Then, the flaws are going to start to come up. So what I really recommend to all couples is, before you get into a marriage, is to go, and it's something that actually a brother in the US who is from the UK, we're like starting to talk about premarital counseling to really educate and give some tools and give some clarity, to prepare our couples, whether it's young couples or whether it's, divorced or getting married again, to really be able to, know what your core values are and know what you're willing to be flexible with and know what the deal breakers are. Like, you should know that before going into a marriage. And that kind of preparation just doesn't take place. It just doesn't take place. And to know that it actually has a name, that infatuation phase and that obsessive phase has a name, and it's called limerence. And it's that limerence stage where we're just in that fairy tale place, right? We're in the clouds and everything's perfect. And then all of a sudden it starts to...
Absolutely. I feel, honestly, Estela, from the way you're speaking, that we've just only started this conversation. So, inshallah, we will hopefully touch this very soon again. And I want to thank everybody, especially yourself, for, bringing this topic to... But inshallah, we will see you soon. And thank you all for all your comments and all your things.